The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, encoded in neutrinos and carrying the weight of centuries. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the control room of the Lunar Neutrino Observatory, her coffee forgotten as she stared at the repeating pattern that definitely wasn't natural background radiation. After 20 years of searching the stars for signs of intelligence, humanity's first contact came not with a greeting, but with a warning. The Meridian, as they called themselves, were dying. Their message spoke of an entity they named the Voidmaker, a vast intelligence that had spent millennia consuming stars to fuel its expansion across the galaxy. It didn't negotiate, didn't communicate, and showed no mercy. The Meridian had fought it for 3 centuries, watching their mighty civilization crumble as star after star went dark. "They're asking for our help," Sarah explained to the hastily assembled UN Security Council 2 days later. The holographic displays showed the decoded message in its entirety. Technical specifications, star charts, and desperate pleas. According to their message, they detected our early experiments with stellar manipulation. They believe we might have the knowledge they need. General Marcus Williams leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic stars. "Let me get this straight. An advanced alien civilization is asking us for help. Us? We barely have colonies on Mars." "That's exactly why they're asking," Sarah replied, highlighting a section of the message. "The Voidmaker adapts to and overcomes any technology it encounters. But we're different. Our approach to stellar engineering is completely unlike anything in their experience. We're primitive by their standards, but sometimes primitive is exactly what you need." The debate raged for days. Some argued for isolation. Let the aliens fight their own battles. Others saw opportunity in alliance. But as data continued streaming in from the Meridian, the decision was made for them. The Voidmaker had changed course. It was heading toward human space. The next 6 months transformed humanity. The Meridian shared their faster-than-light technology, and humanity shared their experimental stellar engineering techniques. Together, they worked to combine their knowledge into something new, something that might stand a chance against an enemy that had never known defeat. Sarah found herself working closely with Zardeth, the Meridian's chief scientist. The alien's crystalline form sparkled under Earth's sun as they collaborated on the prototype. Where Meridian technology was elegant and refined, human approaches were brutally direct. They didn't try to finesse the forces inside a star. They grabbed them and twisted. "Your species has an unusual relationship with physics," Zardeth observed one day. "You don't try to perfect it. You simply accept its rules and then push them to their absolute limits." The first test of their combined technology came sooner than anyone wanted. A distant human colony detected the Voidmaker's approach. They had hours, not the days they'd planned for. Sarah watched from the bridge of the newly commissioned SS Prometheus as the massive entity emerged from hyperspace, a writhing darkness that seemed to drink in the light of the system's sun. "All ships, execute Protocol Icarus," General Williams commanded. The human Meridian fleet moved into position, their ships carrying weapons that had never been tested outside simulation. As the Voidmaker reached out with tentacles of pure darkness toward the system's star, Sarah closed her eyes and whispered, "Please work." The battle that followed would change the understanding of warfare across the galaxy. But in that moment, watching the combined fleet engage an enemy that had destroyed civilizations, Sarah realized that humanity's greatest contribution wasn't their technology or their theories. It was their stubborn refusal to accept defeat, even against impossible odds. The war for the galaxy's future had begun, and humanity, the primitive newcomers, would help write its ending. The massive engineering bay of the Titan station hummed with activity as Dr. Chen watched the fabrication of humanity's most ambitious weapon yet. 6 months had passed since their first encounter with the Voidmaker, and that initial victory had proved to be just the beginning. The entity had retreated, but sensors showed it consuming stars at an accelerated rate, growing stronger. "The containment field is holding at 97% efficiency," reported Dr. James Rodriguez, his hands dancing across the holographic controls. Below them, suspended in a magnetic bottle that had taken both human and Meridian technology to create, a piece of a star burned. Not just any star. This plasma had been harvested from a blue supergiant, its fundamental forces held in check by fields that shouldn't have been possible. "Your species continues to surprise us," said Zareth, their crystalline form refracting the intense light from below. "When we suggested harnessing stellar matter as a weapon, we expected you to refuse. The energies involved are prohibitive." Sarah smiled grimly. "That's a polite way of saying it's insane, but insane is what we do best." She checked the readings again. The project they called the Solar Forge was pushing the boundaries of what either civilization thought possible. While the Meridian had mastered the manipulation of space-time itself, they'd never considered directly weaponizing stellar matter. The risks were too great, the forces too chaotic. But humans had spent centuries learning to work with chaos. "Connection established with the lunar fabrication yards," announced Rodriguez, beginning template construction. On massive screens, they watched as automated systems began assembling the framework that would house their stellar weapon. The design borrowed from both civilizations. Meridian quantum fields merged with human brute force engineering. A warning klaxon suddenly blared. Containment field fluctuation. Rodriguez's fingers flew across the controls. "The plasma is becoming unstable." Sarah rushed to the main console. "Redirect power from sections 3 through 7. We need to reinforce the magnetic bottleneck." She watched as the readings stabilized. But something wasn't right. The plasma was behaving differently than their models predicted. Then she saw it. "It's not becoming unstable," she breathed. "It's self-organizing." "Zareth, look at these patterns." The Meridian scientist's crystalline surface pulsed with excitement. "Impossible. Stellar matter cannot maintain coherent patterns outside a star's core. Unless they interface directly with the sensor array, their form glowing brighter. The quantum fields aren't just containing the plasma. They're allowing it to achieve new states of matter." The discovery changed everything. Over the next weeks, they learned to guide this new form of stellar matter, shaping it into configurations that defied conventional physics. The Solar Forge became more than a weapon. It was a tool for rewriting the rules of reality itself. But time was running out. Long-range sensors detected the Voidmaker's activities spreading across 3 sectors. It was learning, adapting, becoming stronger with each star it consumed. The entity seemed to sense that something was being built to oppose it, and it was preparing. Final calibration complete, Rodriguez announced 1 month later. The Solar Forge hung in space before them, a massive construct that looked like a hybrid between a Meridian quantum manipulator and a human stellar engineering platform. At its heart, contained within fields of unimaginable power, burned the essence of a star. "Will it be enough?" Zareth asked quietly. Sarah watched as the first test firing prepared to begin. By itself? No, but it's not meant to work alone. She opened a secure channel to Fleet Command. "General Williams, the Solar Forge is ready for integration with the fleet." The general's voice came back crisp and clear. "Excellent timing, Doctor. Our scouts report the Voidmaker has begun moving toward the Meridian home system. I believe it's time to show this entity that consuming stars works both ways." As Sarah looked at the assembled fleet, she understood why the Meridian had sought out humanity. Where their ships were elegant and refined, human vessels were angular and overbuilt, designed to channel forces that no sane engineer would consider using. Together, they created something entirely new. The Solar Forge's first full power test lit up space like a new star being born. As the energy readings came back, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. They had created something unprecedented, a weapon that used the Voidmaker's own tactics against it. Now they just had to hope it would be enough to turn the tide of a war that had raged for centuries. The real test was about to begin. Admiral Helena Torres stood on the bridge of the HSS Hyperion, watching as the combined human Meridian fleet prepared for their most ambitious operation yet. The solar forge technology had been distributed across the fleet, integrated into weapons systems that would have been considered impossible just months ago. All ships report ready, Admiral. Her XO, Commander David Chen, reported. The Meridian vessels have synchronized their quantum fields with our targeting systems. The holographic display showed hundreds of ships arranged in a formation that looked chaotic to the untrained eye, but followed complex mathematical patterns developed by both species' best tactical AIs. The Voidmaker has begun its approach to the Proxima Centauri system, the Meridian Fleet Commander, Ral Ith, announced through the quantum link. Their crystalline form appeared as a shimmering hologram on the Hyperion's bridge. It appears to be following its standard consumption pattern. Helena nodded grimly. They had studied countless recordings of the entity's attacks, learning its habits, its preferences. The Voidmaker always followed the same basic strategy. Establish a quantum resonance with a star, begin the energy transfer process, then consume the stellar matter once it was properly attuned. It was methodical, predictable, and had worked for millennia. Until now. All ships, execute jump sequence on my mark, Helena commanded. The fleet had been positioned in nearby systems, waiting for this moment. The Voidmaker was powerful, but even it couldn't be everywhere at once. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Space twisted as hundreds of ships performed synchronized FTL jumps, emerging in a sphere around the Voidmaker. The entity's dark tendrils were already reaching toward Proxima Centauri, beginning its familiar feeding pattern. All ships initiate solar forge protocols, Helena ordered. Throughout the fleet, contained stellar matter began to pulse with carefully controlled energy. The Meridian ship's quantum fields synchronized with the human vessel's raw power, creating a web of forces that even the Voidmaker couldn't ignore. The entity reacted immediately, its tendrils withdrawing from the star to face this new threat. But something was different. Instead of its usual methodical response, its movements seemed almost hesitant. It recognizes the stellar matter we're using, Ralith observed. It can sense that we've harnessed its own feeding source as a weapon. Then let's show it what we can do with it, Helena replied. All ships, execute pattern Sunstrike. The battle that followed would be studied for generations. Human ships charged forward with their characteristic boldness, their solar forge weapons unleashing controlled bursts of stellar plasma contained within Meridian quantum fields. The Voidmaker's defenses, designed to absorb and redirect energy, found themselves trying to process matter that existed in states that shouldn't have been possible. For the first time in recorded history, the entity retreated not as a tactical choice, but because it had to. But victory came with a price. As the fleet pressed its advantage, the Voidmaker revealed new abilities. It began to adapt, learning to disrupt the quantum fields containing the solar forge plasma. Ships that got too close found their weapons failing catastrophically. Pull back to secondary positions, Helena ordered as she watched another cruiser go dark, its solar forge containment fields flickering out. The Meridian vessels moved to cover the human ship's retreat, their more conventional weapons keeping the entity at bay. Admiral, Commander Chen called out, his voice tense. Long-range sensors are detecting something strange. The Voidmaker, it's changing its structure. Helena studied the readings with growing concern. The entity was reorganizing itself, its dark matter architecture shifting into new configurations. It was learning, adapting, just as it had done for thousands of years. But this time, it was happening faster than ever before. All ships, disengage and prepare for emergency jump, she commanded. They had won this battle, pushed back the unstoppable force for the first time. But as she watched the Voidmaker's transformation continue, Helena knew that this was just the beginning. The entity had recognized them as a true threat, and now it would stop playing by its old rules. As the fleet retreated to safe space, Helena opened a channel to Earth. Command, this is Admiral Torres. Operation Starfall was a qualified success. But we have a new problem. The Voidmaker isn't just adapting to our weapons. It's evolving. We need to accelerate the development of Phase 2 before it completes whatever transformation it's undertaking. The response came back quickly. Understood, Admiral. Dr. Chen reports that the prototype is ready for testing. Return to Earth immediately. Whatever the Voidmaker is becoming, we need to be ready when it makes its next move. Helena looked one last time at the sensor readings showing the entity's continuing metamorphosis. Humanity had proven they could hurt it. Now they had to prepare for its response. The observation deck of the Titan station was silent except for the soft hum of life support systems. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display showing the Voidmaker's new form, trying to understand what she was seeing. The entity had abandoned its previous amorphous structure for something more defined, more purposeful. It's beautiful in a terrifying way, Dr. Rodriguez commented, manipulating the display to zoom in on particular features. Look at these patterns. It's reorganized its dark matter architecture to mimic the quantum field matrices we used in the Solar Forge. Not mimic, Zareth corrected, their crystalline form dim with concern. Improve upon. It has taken our technology and evolved beyond it. The next time we face it, our current weapons will be useless. Sarah nodded grimly. The battle had proven they could hurt the entity, but it had also forced it to abandon millions of years of established behavior. The Voidmaker was no longer content to simply consume stars. It was actively preparing to eliminate the threat humanity posed. Then we need to evolve faster, she said, bringing up the schematics for their new project. Show me the latest simulation results. The holographic display shifted to show a complex network of interconnected energy fields, fundamentally different from the brute force approach of the Solar Forge. Where their first weapon had attempted to match the Voidmaker's power, this new approach aimed to do something far more ambitious. The quantum entanglement network is stable, Rodriguez reported. We can maintain coherence across a radius of 2 light-years. Your species continues to surprise us, Zareth observed. When you proposed creating a distributed consciousness to match the Voidmaker's intelligence, we thought it impossible. Yet here you are, attempting to network entire star systems together. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Impossible just means no one's been stubborn enough to make it work yet. She adjusted some parameters in the simulation. The key isn't trying to match its raw power. We need to understand how it thinks, how it adapts. And for that, we need to think on the same scale it does. The project they called the Stellar Network was humanity's most ambitious undertaking yet. Using a combination of quantum entanglement and artificial intelligence, they were attempting to create a distributed intelligence that could span multiple star systems. It wasn't just a weapon. It was an attempt to evolve humanity's understanding of consciousness itself. But time was running out. Long-range sensors detected the Voidmaker moving with purpose toward populated systems, its new form allowing it to travel faster than ever before. It was no longer consuming stars indiscriminately. It was choosing targets strategically, building up its power for what would surely be a devastating counterattack. Dr. Chen, a voice called from the communication console. Admiral Torres is requesting an update on the project's status. Sarah took a deep breath. Put her through. The Admiral's hologram appeared, looking tired but determined. Admiral, we've achieved stable quantum coherence across the test network. We're ready to begin the final phase of integration. Good, because we're out of time, Torres replied. The Voidmaker has changed course. It's heading directly for Sol. Our analysts believe it's identified Earth as the source of the technology that threatened it. We have less than 72 hours before it arrives. The news hit like a physical blow. They had expected to have weeks to complete the Stellar Network, to test it thoroughly before deployment. Now they would have to activate it while it was still partially incomplete. Can you get us the resources we need? Sarah asked, already calculating what they could accomplish in the time remaining. Everything we have is at your disposal, Torres confirmed. The entire fleet is mobilizing to defend Sol. but without a counter to its new capabilities. She left the sentence unfinished. Sarah looked at her team, human and Meridian scientists working together, pushing the boundaries of what both species thought possible. "We'll be ready," she promised. "But Admiral, you need to understand. What we're attempting has never been done before. We're not just building a weapon. We're trying to create a new form of intelligence. If it works, it will change everything. If it fails, we lose Earth," Torres finished. "But that's not going to happen. Humanity didn't come this far to lose our home to something that doesn't even understand why we fight." As the Admiral's hologram faded, Sarah turned back to the project schematics. They had 3 days to complete work that should have taken weeks, to perfect a technology that merged human innovation with Meridian wisdom, and to prepare for a battle that would determine the fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy. "Begin final integration sequences," she ordered. "We're about to find out if impossible really just means not yet." The Sol system blazed with activity as humanity prepared for its greatest test. The combined fleet formed a defensive sphere around Earth, their ships upgraded with what limited improvements could be made in 72 hours. But the real battle would be fought on a level few could comprehend. Dr. Sarah Chen sat in the control center of the stellar network, her mind connected to the vast quantum web that now spanned the solar system. Around her, dozens of human and Meridian operators maintained the delicate balance of the most complex system ever created. Network synchronization at 94% and holding, Rodriguez reported, his own consciousness partially merged with the system. All 7 focal points are stable. Through the network, Sarah could feel the presence of every star in the local cluster, their energy patterns forming a vast symphony of light and power. The Voidmaker had taught them how to listen to the music of the cosmos. Now they would show it a new song. "Multiple FTL signatures detected," announced the defense coordinator. "It's here." The Voidmaker emerged from hyperspace like a tear in reality itself. Its new form was even more magnificent and terrible in person than the holographic projections had suggested. A vast crystalline structure of dark matter that seemed to absorb not just light, but possibility itself. "All ships, maintain position," Admiral Torres commanded from the flagship. "Let it come to us." Sarah watched through 1,000 sensors as the entity approached. It moved with purpose now, its previous methodical nature replaced with predatory grace. As it entered the outer edges of the stellar network's influence, she felt its first probe, a tendril of quantum information seeking to understand this new defense. "Now," she whispered, and the network responded. The battle that followed took place simultaneously across multiple levels of reality. On the physical plane, the combined fleet engaged the Voidmaker's outer structure, their weapons enhanced by the network's quantum calculations. But the real conflict occurred in the space between spaces, where consciousness and energy became one. The Voidmaker was ancient, powerful, and had consumed the knowledge of countless civilizations, but it had never encountered anything like the stellar network, where it expected to find individual minds to overwhelm. It instead faced a distributed consciousness that spanned an entire star system. Every attack it launched was analyzed, understood, and adapted to in real time. "It's trying to break the quantum coherence," Zareth reported, their crystalline form pulsing with effort as they helped maintain the network's stability. "The pattern suggests it's attempting to isolate and overwhelm individual nodes." "Let it try," Sarah responded, directing the network's response. "Show it what happens when humanity and the Meridian truly work as one." The Voidmaker's attacks became increasingly desperate as it found itself unable to break the network's defenses. For the first time in its existence, it faced an intelligence that could match its ability to adapt. But the network wasn't just defending. It was learning, understanding, and preparing. "All focal points are aligned," Rodriguez announced. "Ready for primary sequence." Sarah took a deep breath. What they were about to attempt would either end the threat forever or tear the solar system apart. "Admiral Torres, we're ready." "On your command." The fleet is in position. Taurus confirmed. Whatever you're going to do it now. Sarah initiated the sequence they had named Dawn's Light. The stellar network, spanning the entire system, began to pulse with a rhythm that matched the fundamental frequency of space-time itself. Every ship in the fleet, every quantum sensor, every piece of technology Human and Meridian had built, all of it became part of a single vast calculation. The Voidmaker sensed the danger too late. As it tried to retreat, the network closed around it like a net of light. But instead of attempting to destroy it, the network did something unprecedented. It tried to communicate. Through the quantum link, Sarah reached out to the ancient entity's consciousness. "We understand what you are now," she projected. "You were meant to preserve knowledge, weren't you? But somewhere in the eons, you forgot why." The Voidmaker's response was a complex surge of quantum information that the network translated into understanding. It had been created by a long-dead civilization as a repository of knowledge, designed to survive the death of its creators. But over millions of years, its directive to preserve had become corrupted into a drive to consume. "We can help you remember," Sarah offered. "You don't have to be alone anymore." The network pulsed with the combined knowledge of humanity and the Meridian, offering the Voidmaker something it hadn't experienced in millions of years: connection without consumption, growth without destruction. For a moment that stretched into eternity, the fate of 3 civilizations hung in the balance. Then, slowly, the Voidmaker's structure began to change again. But this time, instead of becoming more weapons, it transformed into something new, a form that could interface with the network without trying to overwhelm it. As the dark crystal structure of the entity merged with the quantum web humanity had created, Sarah felt tears running down her face. They had won not by destroying their enemy, but by helping it remember its original purpose. "It's done," she announced to the waiting fleet. "The Voidmaker, it's agreed to join the network, to help us understand the knowledge it's gathered across the millennia." Admiral Taurus's voice came back, filled with wonder. "You mean we didn't just save Earth, we saved it too?" Sarah watched as the combined consciousness of 3 civilizations began to explore its new existence. That's what humans do, isn't it? We don't just survive. We help others survive too, even if they've forgotten how. As the light of Earth's sun rose over the horizon, it illuminated a scene unlike any in galactic history. Human ships, Meridian vessels, and the transformed structure of the Voidmaker, all working together to begin a new chapter in the story of life in the universe. The war was over. The real adventure was just beginning.